Hey guys, Kevin Gain here with TLR. We're going to do In Touch with TLR this week, episode 10. Today we're going to talk a little bit about tires. Want to talk a little bit about tire setup, but mainly just talk about, mainly just sit here and talk about gluing tires, the process we use to glue tires. Another kind of basic setup, a basic tuning tip here this week. In the following weeks, we'll get into some more technical stuff. But tires is always a critical thing. It's probably 90% of your setup when you go to the racetrack. But I wanted to talk about gluing tires, some of the things we do for punching the holes in the tires and so forth. So I thought we would glue a set of 10 scale tires and then also glue a set of 8 scale tires. Pretty much the process is about the same. On 10 scale, I think it's a little bit more critical to pay attention to a few things than it is on the 8 scale side. So I thought I would just kind of go over that, talk about some of the products that we use that's really important. First off, I would like to say that the most important thing to use, this is Simple Green. It's just the standard, green bottle that you buy just at anywhere, Target, Lowe's, Home Depot, stuff like that. I put it in a little easier carrying bottle just so you don't have to carry a big bottle, a spray bottle, or a jug to the racetrack. You just put a little bit in here. This can last a long time, a couple months, depending upon how much you're racing, or even more than that. So Simple Green is used to clean the tire. Back in the day, probably 5 years ago, we were having some issues on the 8 scale side with some tires coming off at some kind of big races, nationals, and a few other events. So we kind of got frustrated, and we tried to figure out the best way to make the tires not, come unglued. So basically what we did was we took an 8 scale tire and a rim, and we cut the tire into a whole bunch of different pieces, and we basically started cleaning the tire with every single different formula you can think of: Windex, Simple Green, motor spray, contact cleaner, acetone. We went through a huge list of different products to clean the tire with, and we basically glued them all onto a wheel, and we sat there and we just tried to pull them off. And every single time we did the test, Simple Green was the dominant one. It won every single time. So ever since then, we've used Simple Green to clean the tires. It's pretty much the norm in the industry for the most part, Simple Green. So it's an easy product to get too. It's very simple. So yeah, Simple Green is definitely your friend. The other big one that we use are blue shop rags. You can get them at Lowe's is a good place to get them. If you go to like a Target or a Walmart, you'll normally find them in the automotive section. They're a little harder to find at Targets and Walgreens and different places like that, but Lowe's is always a really good place. And the blue towels, the blue shop rags for RC racers is probably your best friend when it comes to rags. They're extremely strong, and what's really nice about them when you use them with gluing tires is they don't stick to the rag. So the glue, they'll actually absorb the glue, and the integrity of the actual towel itself is really strong, so it won't tear apart, and you end up not having a towel on your rag basically glued to your wheel. I don't think it's a good idea to use like a regular cloth material because they smoke really bad, and inhaling that smoke is definitely not good for you. So I suggest pretty much only using the blue shop rags is what I recommend. And then the next one is the most important part of the whole process is the glue. There's many different glues out there. If you have a glue that works for you, keep using it. But I strongly suggest using our glue. It's made by we have our glue come from a very high-end brand out there. I won't give any names, but our glue is very good. Works very good. We have a standard, which is what I use, and then we have a thin. It really just comes down to preference on gluing your tires. I like the thick because For some reason, when I use thin, maybe I like to use a little bit more glue than others. But every time I use thin, I always end up gluing my fingers to the tires because it's basically like water and just runs all over. But there's a lot of people that like our thin and use it. So if you like thin, use thin. If not, use standard. That's what I use. And let's get into it. So I think we'll glue a 10 scale tire first. No, let's do the 8 scale tire first. Because I want to talk a little bit about the foam inserts here. And what I'm going to talk about here works both for both 10 scale and 8 scale. Works the same. But if you look here at this piece of foam that I got, this is a AKA red foam, and you'll notice there's a bunch of holes in there. And what that does is, if you look where the holes are basically located, they're on the thick part of the foam right there. And what that does is it softens the foam. So if you're at a track where you have the right tire compound, and maybe it's a high wear track, and the tires wear out pretty fast, so you have to run a little bit harder compound tire than you want to, but you need the car to still develop a little bit more grip than it is developing. If you just poke some holes in the inserts right here, you'll instantly gain some more grip in the track in your car. It works really well. It softens the foam up. They don't last quite as long because obviously you're basically helping it break down quicker, the foam. So you can get a couple of runs out of them still. But we play with this a lot in 8 scale and in 10 scale. You can also, at times, you can take these little ribs right here and you can cut them down with some scissors, and that basically gives an air gap in there from the foam to the tire, and it gives a little bit more room. It allows the insert in the tire to move a little bit more onto the dirt, and it also helps gain some grip. Now, if you're on where you'll find some problems with that is if you get to like a higher bite track and you have holes in your tires or holes in your inserts, or you cut the foam down, what you can get is a wiggle. The car will start wiggling, which is basically the tread pattern is grabbing traction, but now the whole carcass of the tire is folding over, and you get a wiggly car, which can give you this feel of very less traction or less grip. So it's a balance. We normally only do holes in the tires when it's like a water track where it's loose and you really need traction and you're running maybe a softer tire. So, but it does definitely increase grip, and that's the same thing for 10 scale as well. So if you're out on a track that's a loose track, or you're looking for more traction, if you poke holes in the 10 scale tire inserts as well, it does the same thing. It'll give you more traction. It basically is just helping break down the insert a little bit quicker, and it definitely gives you some more grip. So enough with that. So let's glue up an 8 scale tire now. For 8 scale, basically what we do is I like to poke the holes first. You want to get one of these hole punches. You can find these down at Lowe's as well, or online, Amazon. They're like a belt buckle hole punch, basically, so it allows you to put more holes in your belt, but works great for RC tires. There's obviously different sizes to go to on here. You want to stay away from some of the really big ones. I normally stick to right around in the middle. It's going to be hard to show you. 8 scale, I do just a slightly bigger hole than I do with the 10 scale, mainly because it's a bigger tire and you need more air to get out of it. So, I mean, I guess I would call that an eighth inch hole that I use. It's probably one of the smaller ones on there. And for 8 scale, I like to poke 2 holes, one directly across from each other. I don't go right in the center because that's where the tire expands up in the middle. And when it expands up, you have the ability to possibly rip that hole bigger. So what we do is on the inside of the tire, you'll want to put a hole roughly right in this range right there. You'll want to throw your first hole. Bam. Peel it out. Turn it over. Throw the next hole in right there. And that's it. That's how we do it. 2 holes in an 8 scale tire, 2 holes in a 10 scale tire. You could do more than that if you feel like when you put it all together, you feel like there's a little bit of pressure built up as you squeeze the tire. You can add another hole. Normally 2 holes is good enough. That's what we do there. Then what I do is I clean the tire. So I'll take one of my blue rags. I like to fold it up. And then use your simple green. So what's nice, I have this little bobber on here. It's the bottle that I use. So I just take it and bob it onto the rag. And what I like to do is I like to get a lot of pressure on it to really, basically you're getting off the mold release from the tire. That mold release, if you don't get that mold release off, it doesn't allow the glue to adhere into the rubber, which then you basically break off the mold release and the tire comes off the wheel. So I like to get a lot of pressure on it, so I'll just stick it right here and I just run it along the table a few times. I think this works really good. See if you can see all the mold release. It's coming off. It'll be nice and black. Flip it over. I like to just do it again a couple of times. Bob the other side. And I like to just run it off. Now I like to do it this way when I can hold it down because I can get a lot of pressure on it when I roll it back. Makes it really easy to do this. And you can see how much mold release you get off of there. Now what I'll do is I like to use a dry side of the rag and come back in here and wipe this dry. If you have any wet simple green on there, when you apply the glue, it's not going to stick. The glue's going to dry up before it'll adhere into the rubber and you'll have a problem. So you can see, cleans up really nice. Take your insert, stick your insert in here first. I kind of run it around to get the insert get the insert settled in. Everything's nice and fitting where it should fit comfortably in there. If you have any of these little black pieces of flanging on there, pull them off, and then you just throw the tire on. To the wheel. I don't ever normally have to clean the wheel because the wheel's not really dirty. You're mainly cleaning the tire, like I said, just to get that mold release off. So cleaning the wheel, you can clean the wheel. It's perfectly fine if you're comfortable with cleaning the wheel with the simple green as well. Just make sure it's dry. Don't have any wet simple green on there. And you kind of want to work it back and forth. So you want to make sure everything's in perfectly how you want it to be. Nice and flush. Everything's flush, just like that. Everything's perfectly flush, just like that. Now, I always like to do the front first. Not really any particular reason. I think most people do. But if you like to do this side first, there's nothing wrong with that. I like to do this side first, so we'll do this side first. So now you'll notice in our glue kit, we give you 2 different rubber bands. So one rubber band is for 8 scale and one rubber band is for 10 scale. Now, there's also manufacturers that make rubber bands, like J Concepts makes some rubber bands here. They're really nice. They work really good. I like them. They function. I like how you can kind of use these to kind of set them around the tire how you want them. They don't fly off very much, so I'll actually use these for the 8 scale and we'll glue a set of tires. So our glue comes with a little straw also. I recommend using the straw. It kind of limits the amount of glue that goes on. Just press it on as hard as you can, nice and tight. Get it on there. Now, it's real simple when you glue it. The most important thing is to do small little bits. Don't try and get ahead of yourself and do, a quarter of the tire at a time. Just do little bits. The whole point is to get the glue as deep as you can, and then when you shut the tire, basically let the tire release the tire, it'll push the glue up, and that's the best way to do it. If you put the glue at the very top of the bead and you let go of the tire, it's only going to push it up from there. So you want to start as deep as you can and then release, and then it'll push the glue up from there. So I just basically hold the tire like this, I fold it back, and you want to make sure you don't pull it back too far where you're pulling the tire up over that lip. I don't know if you can see that right there, but you don't want to do that. You don't want the tire to get up above that lip, and you don't have to pull it very far, because what happens is you get that. And that's not what you want. And once the tire gets glue in there, it's going to be really, really hard to kind of maneuver it back to how you want it. So it's very important to only move the tire up as far as you have to get the tip all the way down into the tire. So I'll just start gluing here, and you guys can kind of watch and go from there. So just get the glue down. I don't like to put the rubber bands on first because it makes it a little bit more difficult to work with. But you can see how the glue kind of comes back up through the top and make it nice and easy. You know, you only want to do this really, really fast if you're, at the last minute and you're trying to get onto the track. Otherwise, take your time, because the nicer you glue the wheels, the more balanced they'll be. So just hold it down, hold it down. Last little bit right there. So now it's all down. And what I do is take the rubber band, the JC band, you're going to put this right on like that. You can use these to line it up. Now, it's really important to make sure you're using the right size rubber band for the right tire. If you use a rubber band so when you're doing a 10 scale tire and you use a rubber band that's too big, you're not going to get enough pressure around it. It's all about getting a nice tight pressure around the tire and the rim, which is what's going to make it glue really nice and really solid. Never use your rag that you use to clean off the tire. So you always want to use a new one. I suggest folding it up because it makes it a little thicker, and it assures you're not going to have glue go through the towel and then onto your finger, and the next thing you know, you've just burnt your finger to the rag. So I use the corner. I'll just take it like this. A little wipe, and that tire is done. I suggest letting them sit for 5 to 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the best, and go from there. You want to kind of come and check on it after a few 2-3 minutes, make sure it's kind of gluing. But that's it, nice and done. Really simple, and no glues all over the place. More glue is not the key. The key is to get the right amount of glue down deep into the wheel, into the groove. That's really the most important part. Letting the glue, when it's down there, when you release the tire, let the glue come out. That really assures that you've got a lot of glue down deep into the bead, and that's exactly what you want. So I won't glue the other side because of time frame here, because I want to glue a 10 scale tire as well, and then I want to have a little Q&A and we'll talk about it. So this is it. It's the exact same process for the other side. Use the rag just to clean it up. It's very simple. Gluing tires is really easy if you just take your time and make sure you're getting glue in where you need to get it and wipe it down. So that's an 8 scale wheel. It's really easy. 10 scale wheel can get a little bit more tricky because of the bead. It's got a different bead on it. It has a groove on the wheel. So it's a little bit more, it's a little trickier, but not really. It's still really simple. There's a couple little cleaning tips that we'll go over right now. I'll use a different rag. So now let's glue up a 10 scale wheel tire. So I'll use a new rag here for both of these. And I still like to fold these up because you just get a little thicker bit of the rag. So what I like to do when I clean a 10 scale tire, because there's a little bit of a kind of crevice here, or it's a little awkward to get into. And the biggest thing with 10 scale tires is you always find that they kind of tear off on the wheel a little bit. That's really hard to avoid, but you can do a few things to help with that. So the first thing to help with that is to make sure you're cleaning the whole outer edge of this tire, and also the inner edge and the inside flap here. You want to make sure you're not just cleaning this inner edge, because the tire is also gluing to this outer lip here, which is part of the sidewall of the tire. So you have to have that cleaned up really well. Otherwise the tire will rip from the rim much easier, and go from there. But one thing, so when you punch the holes in the 10 scale tire, we like to put it on the inside. So the inside of your car, you never want these holes to be on the outside where they're getting dirt in them. So we actually punch these right at the edge of the sidewall. Right there, if you can see that. Right there is where we pinch it. And you go from there, directly across from the other hole. You're going to put it right on that edge again. And what this does by putting the holes on the side, in 10 scale racing we sauce our tires, and we also clean our tires a lot. We clean them after every run. And if the hole is right in the middle of the tire, water and also your tire sauce gets into the hole, which gets into the foam, and it makes the foam break down really, really quickly. So when you wash your tires, when you wash your 10 scale tires or your 8 scale tires, you never want to submerge them under the water at all. You just want to brush them lightly with the water brush. You really don't want to saturate them with water too much, and you want to just dry them off. That's really all you want to do, because you want to keep the inside of the tire, that insert, the foam inside, as dry as possible. You want to keep the sauce out of the insert as much as possible, because if you get water and sauce, tire sauce, onto the insert will break down and become no good well before the tire is worn out. So you're basically wasting your money. So it's important to keep the inside of the tire as clean as you can, keep the sauce out of there as much as you can, and try not to get anything, water or sauce into the two holes that you made. But you have to have those holes, because otherwise you won't have any way to get the air out of the top part of the insert. So that's why you put the holes in there. So cleaning these are a little different. So what I like to do is I like to make sure I clean the outer edge of the tire first, and I like to put a lot of force on here. So when I clean these, I like to get really into there, clean the top part up really well. Then what I like to do is I like to just take and run my finger around that edge to where you can really get into that groove, and make sure you get all of the stuff off there, all the mold release off. So then you just want to kind of use the dry part of the rag to dry it up, and then that side's clean. So now let's do the other side here. Like I said, I like to use a new part of the rag each time, because that other part of the rag that you just used has that mold release on there, so all you're doing is spreading it around at that point. So same thing, put a lot of pressure. You really want to get this clean. It's the cleaner you get it, the better it will be. So just keep running it on there. Like I said, I like to run around that little edge groove in there. You want to make sure you're getting the sidewall as much as you can, because that also is getting glued. And go from there. Make sure it's nice and dry. It dries pretty quick. The simple green really dries really fast. Insert just goes in like normal. Always kind of move the insert around like this. It sets the insert, gets it all nice and fitting, forming really well into the tire, just like that. Now you want to make sure your holes that you poked in the tire are going to the inner part of the rim, just like that. pop these into the groove. Make sure it's all in the groove. Everything's nice and sitting just how it should be sitting. Okay, so now everything's in there like it should be. So now when you glue a 10 scale tire, it's very important to not just barely fold it back and get glue on that edge right there. You really need to kind of fold it back. I wish you guys could see this. I'm going to walk up here and show you. So you want to make sure you're not just folding the tire like this and gluing. You really want to make sure you're folding it back just like this and getting glue underneath that bottom of the bead. And what that does is it really assures that the tire is going to adhere to the rim. Especially when, you know, in 10 scale racing, it doesn't matter how good you are gluing tires. This edge of the tire right here always comes, you know, kind of rips off. It's just it's just where we are. It's just a common thing. It happens to everybody, no matter what tire brand you're running, and no matter how well or how good you are of a racer or a tire gluer. So it will automatically, it's going to come off. So you want to make sure you have that lower part of the tire glued, so when the top piece does rip a bit, you're safe. So it's the same process as the 8 scale. You want to just kind of fold the tire back a little bit, throw one line of glue underneath, one line of glue on the top, and that's it. That tire will be glued. One on the bottom bead, one on the top bead. Done. One on the underneath bead down here, one on the top. And I'm going to actually walk up here and get a little bit closer and show you exactly what I mean by this. Hopefully you guys can see this really well. But see how I folded that up right there? So now you take your bottle of glue and you're going to put one bead underneath and one bead on the top. I don't know if you can see that, but see how they're both glued, and then set it down. And that's exactly how I do it. It's exactly how we do it here at Team Losi Racing. It's going to assure that the tire is going to be glued the best that it can be. So I'll finish this off here. One underneath, one on the top, underneath. And that's it there, guys. So now a 10 scale tire holds itself together pretty well on the bead, but I do like to use the rubber bands. And you will notice, see, this band works really well on the 8 scale tire. But sometimes I find that for some tires, they cannot be quite enough pressure. So I will use these really small rubber bands here, because they put a lot of pressure on the tire. Let me show you. They put a lot of pressure on the tire, and the more pressure you have, the better the tire is going to glue. They're really tight on there, and to me in 10 scale that just works a little bit better. I'll grab a new rag here to wipe off the glue. And I just take it and I run it one time. All done. That's it. That's how we glue the tires. It's pretty simple. You would just want to make sure they sit for 7 minutes, and then they should be ready to rock and roll on the track. Yeah, so that's it, guys. If you have any questions, I'm going to grab the camera right now and I'm going to flip it around, and we'll do a little Q&A and go over what we talked about, and see what kind of questions you guys had for me already. I don't have my my tablet with me today, otherwise I'd answer the questions right now, so bear with me for just a moment. I'll grab the camera here and flip this around, and we'll have a little Q&A session. So guys, what's happening? Let me grab the camera here, and we'll have a little Q&A. like I said, I forgot my tablet this morning, so I was a little bummed on that. But I hope everything's going well with everybody. Let me go through here and see what kind of questions you guys got so far, and we'll try and answer them the best that I can. And I hope this helps. We're gonna have a. Let me get into next week. So next week we're gonna do the In Touch with TLR episode 11. That's gonna be in Florida at the 8-Scale Nationals, and there's gonna be some big stuff we're gonna be showing. It's going to be probably a decent long video. You're not going to want to miss it, so it's going to be pretty exciting. Let's see. Hey, Austin. It's going good, man. I'm doing good. How about you? It works in your laundry as well. Does it really? Those blue rags? Sam's Club. Yep, Sam's Club also sells them. If you have a Sam's Club card, you can definitely buy them there. They were $11 for 6 of them at Lowe's. That's pretty much where I normally get them. Are those Dustin's National Winning Wheels? From where? I'm not sure. Oh, you're talking about the 8-scale cars in the background, guys. Oh, yeah. So these cars here in the background, this is Dustin Evans' paint job for sure. This is basically the car. This is a not a prototype. This is the photo sample car of the 1.0 buggy that we came out with. And Dustin's car was was on the paint job for the 1.0 buggy, and we also have the same car in mid-motor. So we have the same car in mid-motor. Both photo sample cars from when we first came out with them. We keep a lot of our cars from our back in the day. We have our 8-scale ones. I think I did a couple of posts maybe 3 weeks ago from back in the day, and did some posts on that. So let's see what else we got here. Hat backwards mandatory. Yes. It's that kind of day. When the hat's forward, it's kind of like a relaxed day. You know, we're just kind of cruising along. But when the hat goes backwards, that means we're heading to a race in about 3 days. So everything's hectic, and the hat goes backwards, so I don't hit it on nothing. Brian, I can't wait till July. I'm buying a Losi 40 SR buggy, converting it to oval. A lot of my fellow racers are racing Losi and oval. Yeah, Brian, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of our team guys online putting some oval cars together. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. Unfortunately, I have not been to an oval race, so I'm not sure what it's all about myself, but it seems like it's pretty fun. Let's see here, guys. Can I skip this to end and see what happens? The suspense is killing me. Over lunch. Nick, that's awesome. I'd really like information on why the change springs. Why put heavier or lighter oil springs on? What are you looking for as an indicator? Let me see here. Lighter indicator, and why? Steve. So Steve, on springs and oil, theoretically, your springs are to match the weight of your vehicle. A lot of times we use springs for high bite track versus low bite track for traction and whatnot. It's always good to try and find the spring that works for you and the weight of your vehicle, and get comfortable with it, and try not to change it too much. Once you get the springs pretty much nailed in, it should just be piston and oils, and once you get the pistons pretty much, the way you like your car to handle, it's pretty much just comes down to changing your oil. And changing your oil, it really just comes down to temperature of the day. If it's really, really hot, you're going to have to go up in shock oil. If it's really, really, really cold, you're going to have to go down in shock oil. That's really where we change oils and items like that. The springs, I mean, it's really, comes down to just basically the weight of the vehicle and how you like the car to handle. In a lot of our setup sheets, you'll know they're pretty much basic on spring rates for most of our cars. We do change, from different brands here and there, but that just comes down to a feel thing. Springs are really critical if you want to really think about them in the way of different manufacturers and being the same spring rate and one feeling one way versus another feeling the other. You can really get yourself lost. I suggest basically kind of going off of what our guideline is with whichever vehicle it is that you're working with, and trying them. If you like the way they work, then run them. If not, then kind of figure out which way works best for you. Normally when we change a spring is when it gets really, really high bite. We'll go up in a spring because the car will we're basically to control the roll of the car, so it don't roll as much as too much. But most of the time we try to keep it right around the same spring that works for the car. So I hope that helps. Springs are a really tricky item when it comes to the cars. There's so many options. There's so many variables. So yeah, unfortunately, I wish there was just a straightforward answer. Do they make beadlock wheels? We don't make any beadlock wheels for anything 10 scale or 8 scale. We make beadlock wheels for the 5th scale, mainly because it kind of makes sense for 5th scale. I don't know if any other brands out there do, but we don't. So sorry guys, I've literally been getting ready for 8 scale nats next week, so I was in a hurry. I came in here, I forgot to put my phone on silent, forgot my tablet this morning, but I did not want to miss doing it this week for you guys, so sorry I'm a little off my game this week, but next week it will be, like I said, next week's going to be super exciting. You're guys going to see some cool stuff, so don't forget to, don't miss next week. So tire sauce. So tire sauce is used, I mean they use it a little bit in 8 scale, but tire sauce is used on indoor 10 scale tracks. It's an additive that you put on your tire while it's clean before you go out on the track, and it basically softens the tire, and when you hit the track it gives it more traction, more grip. It's used on really low bite tracks. Pretty much indoor racing, it's used for everything. We use anything we use stuff like liquid wrench. WD-40 works really well. Liquid wrench, they have yellow and blue liquid wrench, works really well. That's pretty much the norm, or those 3 items. There's hundreds, if probably not thousands, of different sauces out there. There's homebrew sauces that people use, but a lot of them they smell really bad and they're really not healthy for you. I find that liquid wrench works really well everywhere. And you apply it to the 10 scale tire after you clean it. You don't want to put it on while it's dirty, otherwise the dirt basically absorbs the sauce, the liquid wrench, and it doesn't get into the tire. So but it definitely gives you more grip, more traction. There be no problem with tires coming off the rim if the rims had guns. So, can you glue my tires? Haha, Derek. Actually, so I did this tire video, and one of my rules when we go to all these races is I don't glue tires for others. Because you never know when that tire is going to come off. It happens sometimes, regardless how well you glue a tire. But when you go to when you go to the old outdoor 10 scale races like Cactus Classic or Hot Rod Hobbies, you learn how to glue tires because you'll probably glue 50 sets of tires between 3 or 4 different classes, if not more than that. So you learn to glue tires really quick. When you run open mod, do you duct tape the inside of the tire to keep it from ballooning? So SB, yeah, we have done this in the past. It is something that does work. It does exactly what you're saying. We don't use a duct tape. They make, I don't know the name of the brand. I think it might be Tamiya makes it, but they make a very paper thin 2-sided tape, and you'll basically wrap that around the rim, take off, and then put the foam on, and the foam will stick to the 2-sided tape, and it works really, really well. We don't use it very often. The only time we use it is on a really, really high bite track. But we don't go to those tracks, unfortunately, a lot anymore. A lot of them are just the indoor clay tracks, and you normally need as much grip as you can. But yeah, that's definitely an option, and it helps with that. You've got beautiful teeth. Thank you, I guess. Will there be an update for the 22 gear diffs? I don't have that information at the moment. I'm not sure. That'd be something to hit up Frank Root with. Maybe tag him in the video with that same question, and he might be able to get back to you. Do you balance tires for 1/8 scale? So yeah, we do balance 8 scale tires. We don't really balance 10 scale tires. Truggy tires are definitely one of the most important tires to balance at pretty much every time. The key though is to not use too much of the balancing material, putty, because it adds a lot of weight to the tire. Truggy tires are already heavy, so if you find yourself overbalancing truggy tires and you add a lot of the balancing clay, they get really, really heavy, and that also defeats the purpose. So you want to get them as close as you can without adding too much weight to the tires themselves. So, do you guys balance 8-scale tires? Yes. Thanks for answering. I still run stock springs on my 4.0. Would there be a significant difference with the new ones, or is it going to force me to drive differently? Randy, there's a huge difference in the new springs. They're a lot better. I would say they do pretty much everything better on the 4.0. That's why we came out with them. They absorb the bumps better. They give the car more traction. You really won't have to change your driving style at all. I think that the car will naturally just drive better for you. You'll have more control of your car. Like I said, it's going to go through the bumps better, and it adds a tremendous amount of just overall into the track grip. I would suggest on your 4.0, if you're running on a looser track, we've been running pretty much, we've been liking on the 4.0 like a purple or a blue front with an orange rear. That's what I would suggest starting with. If you like the front end of your car to be really flat, go with the purple. If you like your car to be a little bit more on the aggressive side, go with the blue front. I saw in the past some guys are running arm stiffeners on the 840 buggy. Are they running the arm stiffeners like Reno is selling on the site? Yes, Kevin. Yes, they're the exact same thing. So you can definitely get them from Reno. And it's a balance. A lot of them are running front, not rear, rear or not front, or all the way around. So it just makes the car more predictable. How do you get the tire off the rim? So we normally don't get the tire off the rim. I take it you're mentioning about reusing the tires after you glue them. You can put them in a small little oven and on a very low temperature and get the tire off. It basically breaks the glue loose and you can pull the tire off. I don't really recommend it. I have seen some people do it. I've actually seen one of my friends way back, probably 8 years ago, forgot they were in there, and they completely melted down in the pan that he had them in, and he had nothing but rubber tires and melted down wheels. So be careful with it, but it's really easy just to, I find it better, even though it's a little bit more money to get wheels. It just makes the whole process a lot easier. You can use acetones and stuff like that, but I'm not going to suggest that stuff. It's probably not healthy for you. I wouldn't suggest it myself, but you can try it, I guess. How is the 5.0 coming along? Coming along great, I think. I run the 5T and 5B. Do you still prep the tires the same way? Holes in the tire cleaning solution. Is it the same for beadlocks and gluing? Would cleaning the rim with acetone help, or is the simple green okay? I wish I had a better answer for you, Wayne. I have not raced any fifth scale. I personally have not even mounted any fifth scale tires. But yeah, like I said, we've done a lot of tests with materials, and simple green has always won the test every time. I would say if you're doing beadlocks, you don't want to glue them, and if you're gluing them, if you're not gluing them, I wouldn't think you need to prep them the same way. So unfortunately, I don't have the answer for you, Wayne. I can try and have Chris Higa answer your question after the video, and I'm sure he can help you. Travis, do you always vent tire and wheel, or just tire? And where do you prefer to vent the tire, center or sidewall? So Travis, yeah, we find that back in the day before we had closed cell inserts, you could just get away with venting the rim itself. But what happened was when we came up and we started running closed cell inserts, which is what we have today, the air can't get through the insert to get out of the rim. So any air that's below the insert will go out the wheel. So yes, you want to make sure that the wheel is vented, and any air that is developed above the insert has to go out the tire hole. So that's why we put the two holes in the tire, and we have the two holes in the rim, because the insert itself cannot bleed the air through it like back in the day when we ran foam. So that's the reason. We always normally put it on the inside wheel, inside of the sidewall, just below the tread. The reason for that is so water and mud and tire sauce and stuff like that cannot get through the hole and into your closed cell insert, which breaks the insert down really, really fast. And then next thing you know, you have a tire that's good, but your insert's no good. So that's why we do that. Will Evo Springs ever come out for the 8T40? I'm not sure. We still have not tested that yet. Obviously, we're focused on all of our 8-scale stuff, so just stay tuned. Put tire on wheel and Tupperware container with acetone. Comes off after a couple hours. What do you guys do with your used tires? We throw our tires away. Normally when our tires are done, they're completely done and worn out for the most part, and they get thrown away. So that's basically what we do with them. How come there's 840E Truggy? We're working on everything, trust me. We have the answers. I just wish I could tell you all of it. So, all right, guys. I don't see any more questions on here this week. I'm pretty wide open myself, just getting everything ready for the 8-scale nationals. And we leave on Tuesday. Other than that, we get back and I'm home for a few days, and then we leave and we're going to be at AMS. So I'm excited about that. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you guys at AMS. We're going to be focusing on some 8-scale stuff, kind of here through the end of the year, with the Worlds coming in November. So we're kind of excited about that. We got a lot of stuff coming. So we're just preparing, and yeah. So I hope I was able to help you guys out a little bit. Then coming in the near couple weeks here, we're going to be this next week we're going to be in Florida. We're going to have the In Touch with TLR there in Florida. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. You don't want to miss it. The following week, we're going to get in touch with another one of our engineers here at Team Losi Racing. We're going to talk to Brian Kinney in a couple of weeks. He does all of our 8-scale stuff, so I thought it'd be cool to talk with Brian. Then after that, we're probably going to get into some technical stuff. We're going to get into some technical sides of the cars. We're going to get a little bit more off the basic stuff, and we're going to get a little bit more into the technical stuff. So that's going to be pretty cool in the weeks to come. So I'm going to get out of here, guys. I'm going to get back to work, and I will see all you guys next week. Thanks for everything. See you later.